everyone, and welcome back to Code Chat. I am Amy Dean, VP of Operations at SD CodeWorks, and joining me today is Tony Baldwin, our Director of Pre-Sales and Implementation.
Everyone, glad to be here today. Today's topic is a big one. If you've ever been delayed on your shipments, mismatched data, or inventory that seems to just disappear between the systems, you're not alone.
That's right. Today we are talking about something that hits home for just about everyone in the warehouse and logistics world: system integrations.
Yeah, and that's one of the topics that sounds super technical and expensive, but the pain that it causes is very real. Delays, misshipped orders, inventory mismatches, it all adds up fast.
Exactly. And here's the thing, when those problems pop up, people often jump to blame the warehouse, but most of the time it's not just a warehouse issue, it's a systems issue too. And your WMS isn't supposed to live in isolation. It's connected, or at least it should be, to your ERP, your TMS, your e-commerce platforms, and in the 3PL world, even your customer systems.
And when all those parts aren't talking, that's when things start falling apart. Data gets duplicated, orders fall through the cracks, everyone's chasing down what really happened. But when you get the integration right, the entire operation starts running smoother. Everything moves faster, decisions get made in real time, and suddenly you're not firefighting all day long.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to be unpacking today: how to make those integrations actually work, and not just on paper, but in the real world.
Yeah, because flashy demos are nice, but really what matters is what happens after go live, when your orders are flying in and customers are watching the clock.
Exactly. By the end of the session, you're going to have a clearer picture of where integrations usually break down, what really matters beyond the buzzwords, and some practical steps to get your ecosystem running smoothly. So here's what we're diving into today. We're going to start by looking at the integration landscape, all those systems that your WMS touches, and why it's bigger than most people realize.
Then we'll break down the different integration methods, like things like API and EDI, and what makes them tick. Don't worry, we'll keep it plain English.
After that, we'll get into real-time data syncing. We'll talk about why it matters and how to actually make it happen without breaking everything else.
We'll also talk about some common pitfalls we've seen over the years and how to avoid them, because there are a few traps that can really derail your project if you're not careful.
And finally, we'll share a few best practices that you can use to set yourself up for success, things that you can put in place right now to make integration smoother and more scalable.
And we'll wrap up with a quick Q&A where we'll hit some of the big questions we always get from 3PLs and warehouse operators.
All right, so buckle up. Whether you're just exploring integrations or you've been burned in the past, there's going to be a lot that you can take away from today's session. So let's start with the big picture. Tony, when we talk about the integration landscape, what are we actually talking about?
Well, it's a great question. And honestly, it's bigger than most people think. Your WMS doesn't just live in the warehouse, it's the nerve center connecting the whole ecosystem. You've got an ERP managing your order and inventory data, your TMS handling shipping and logistics, and if you're a 3PL, the list gets a lot longer.
Right, because then you're not just talking about your own systems, you're connecting to your customer systems too, their ERPs,
Exactly.
their shopping carts, their marketplaces, and sometimes even their suppliers.
Exactly. You might have one client on NetSuite, another one using SAP, one using Shopify, another one using Amazon, and all of them want real-time visibility into their orders and their inventory. That's a lot of moving parts.
And every single one of those connections matters. Even if one of them fails or lags, you end up with gaps that can ripple across your entire operation.
Yeah. And when those systems aren't talking to each other, guess who ends up doing the talking? Your team.
Right. And not in the fun team huddle kind of way. It's more like, hey, can you rekey this order for the third time because it didn't sync right?
Exactly. So suddenly your warehouse staff is spending more time updating spreadsheets and copying, pasting data between systems than actually shipping the product.
And that's when a lot of errors can start creeping in. Things like missed shipments, duplicated orders, inventory counts that don't match reality. And, my personal favorite, the never ending, where is it calls from the customers.
Yeah, those are the worst. And it's not just lost data, it's lost time, lost revenue, and in some cases, lost trust. because when you're operating in the 3PL world, your customers aren't trusting you just to trust you. They're trusting you with their product to be their operations.
Yes, that is such a key point. If you're running fulfillment for 10 different brands, each with different platforms, you can't sync cleanly between systems. It doesn't just look bad, it feels bad. Everybody is stressed, orders are late, your team is always playing catch up. It's exhausting.
It is. And that actually reminds me of one of our 3PL clients who was just at their wits' end. Their customer's ERP kept, showing inventory discrepancies, but the WMS, everything looked perfect. They were convinced that ERP was a problem, or worse, the customer's team was doing something wrong.
I remember that. They were basically living in two different realities. One system was saying, hey, you've got plenty of stock, and the other one was insisting, nope, it's not there. And of course, the warehouse team gets caught in the middle trying to, prove that they're doing the right thing.
Right, exactly. And they're spending hours upon hours just reconciling data every week just to keep everyone on the same page. It's exhausting. But once we set up real-time integration between their WMS and their customer's ERP using CodeWorks Enterprise, everything clicked.
Right. The data started syncing live. So what the customer saw in their ERP matched exactly what was in the warehouse. And suddenly no more, finger pointing calls, no more second guessing inventory levels. Everybody was just working from the same source of truth.
That's the magic of it. The technology didn't fix a data problem, it fixed a relationship problem. Their customers' confidence shot up overnight, and the warehouse team finally got to stop firefighting and focus on performance.
Yes, and that's the power of integration when it's done right. It builds trust, not just between systems, but between people and partners.
Yeah. So step one in realizing your WMS isn't an island. It's much more, it's a bigger system than what you think. And the system needs to be clean, reliable, and it has to have good connections to everything around it if you want to operate efficiently. I'd like to think of it like a circulatory system. The WMS is the heart, but if the arteries, those are the integrations. If they're blocked or clogged, the whole body suffers.
That's such a good analogy because when the flow of information is healthy, your business is running smoothly. But when it's not, everything downstream feels that pain. And, that's what we're going to dig into next. We're going to talk about how those systems actually communicate and how to choose the right method for your business.
Yeah. And this is where people start to glaze over, but it's actually pretty simple once you break it down. There are two main ways, EDI and API.
That's right. And, EDI has been around forever. Think of it like the fax machine of system communications. It's reliable, maybe a little old school. And for those of you that might not be familiar with a fax machine, it's basically just a really big printer with a phone line.
Exactly. With EDI, data gets sent in batches at set intervals, maybe a few times an hour, maybe once a day, dependable, but not exactly a speed demon. If it's something that changes midday, you might not see it until the next batch goes through. It's kind of like waiting for someone, check your email.
Exactly. And then, there's API, and this is the newer and more flexible approach. And we can think of this kind of like a live chat instead of having to leave a voicemail. And let's be honest, with everything so virtual these days, most of us don't even remember when messages weren't instant. Systems can talk to each other in real time continuously through API.
Right. And with an API connection, the second the order hits your WMS, your ERP sees it. Inventory updates immediately. Your TMS knows the schedule shipping. And if you're connected to a marketplace, stock levels update there too. So everyone's on the same page instantly. No waiting, no guessing, no carrier pigeon required.
So the big question that goes through a lot of people's mind, which one is better?
Honestly, it depends. Some of our clients actually prefer EDI because of its, it fits the rhythm of their partners. For example, a customer whose ERP only updates once or twice a day, EDI is perfect. You can use an FTP, SFTP, those types of connections. It's stable, it's predictable, it's easy to maintain. But in a fast-moving environment, especially with 3PLs managing multiple customers and marketplaces, watching for a batch process can be a huge bottleneck. That's where APIs shine.
So those real-time APIs give you that visibility and control. You can prevent overselling, reduce errors, and react instantly to customer orders or changes. So at the end of the day, it's really not EDI versus API. It's about picking the right tool for the job. And many of our clients end up using a hybrid approach. Some connections are fine on a batch schedule and they might thrive in that way. And then others need that instant live connection.
All right. And the big takeaway is this: integrations aren't about what's newest or flashiest. They're about what's making the system communicate in a way that matches how your business actually works.
Right. And if you get that right, your team stops spending hours chasing data and starts spending time making smarter decisions.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's about clarity, speed, and reducing frustration across the entire operation.
All right. So we just mentioned some real-time data. Let's dig into why syncing data in real time is such a game changer. So Tony, talk about why this is so critical.
Well, because it gives you the truth in the moment. Imagine, let's just say something. So imagine this: an order comes in, your inventory count updates instantly, and your team knows exactly what's available. You're not overselling, you're not scrambling to find missing stock, you're not blaming the warehouse team for errors that they didn't cause.
That's so good. And for 3PLs, that kind of visibility is like striking gold. Vendors can see stock levels as they happen, redirect orders if needed, or, even flag an item is out of stock before it ever frustrates a customer.
Exactly. I mean, how many of us have ordered something online, though it was in stock when you ordered it, you get the dreaded email that says, sorry, it's unavailable. That's what happens when you're talking, when your systems aren't talking in real time.
Right. And now, we're so used to, as consumers, that low stock order soon notification. And sometimes it actually makes you buy it faster. Scarcity marketing is basically built on real-time data.
Exactly. Nothing like a little FOMO to drive a purchase. So, but beyond the psychology of it, real-time data syncing keeps your operations from going haywire.
Right. And, it's not just about preventing mistakes. It can also speed up everything. Teams can make decisions on live data instead of waiting for end-of-day reports or manually reconciling spreadsheets. It's kind of like the difference between driving with live VPS versus printing directions from MapQuest.
Right? So, I mean, the thrill of unfolding an 8-page paper map and praying you don't miss a turn, live data, everything's smoother, faster, and a lot less stressful.
Yeah, that's a stress that I don't miss at all.
You're telling me. One of our e-commerce 3PL clients really felt the difference. They connected with their customers' marketplaces directly to the WMS. Suddenly, hours of manual work disappeared every single day. The same day shipping became norm. Orders processed faster. Customers could actually see accurate inventory in real time, and it was a huge competitive edge.
Exactly. And, here's the key. This isn't about, flashing fancy technology just for the sake of it. It's about running a smarter, faster operation that actually makes life easier for the people on the floor and in the office.
Yep. It's the kind of integration that turns headaches into wins. And that's the kind of transformation our clients rave about.
All right, so let's talk about the flip side. Let's talk about what can go wrong, because even the best integrations can stumble.
Absolutely. And, it's funny, companies spend a fortune on the latest tech, but then trips over, the simplest things. So there are a few traps that we see over and over.
Number one is over customizing, right?
Yeah. So the classic, just tweak it a little bit here, change the setting there, trap. It's that tricky part. Sometimes you don't even notice that you're tweaking customizations all the time. A little adjustment here, a little tweak there, and then one day you wake up and your workflow looks like spaghetti. You don't even recognize the original problem that you're trying to solve.
Oh, we've definitely seen that happen. And then, everyone's scratching their heads, wondering why a simple integration suddenly feels like rocket science.
Exactly. The key is flexibility, but with a clear map of what you're actually solving. Otherwise, you're just adding complexity for complexity's sake.
That's right. And then, there's when teams leave everything up to IT.
Right. It's amazing. They're the experts, but the real problem solving often happens on the floor. Ops teams see the day-to-day issues, the weird edge cases, the things dashboards just can't capture. If IT just builds it in a vacuum, you'll end up technically with a perfect system that doesn't fit any of the actual work that happens on the floor.
Yes, ops teams are like the secret sauce. They know
Mhm.
what normal chaos looks like, and they can flag the stuff that breaks the real workflow. IT should be supporting them, not forcing them into a box.
Exactly. So, and that brings us to the planning to avoid the risk. You can't just connect the systems and hope for the best. End-to-end testing is critical. Thinking through all the scenarios, every step, every exception, and the best way to do that, start on the floor. Watch the people work, listen to them, and design test cases to reflect real world issues.
That's right. And if you only test on paper, you're going to miss 80% of the situations that crop up in reality. Think of it like fire drills. You don't just walk through them in theory, you practice them so that everyone knows what to do when things go sideways.
And once you've done that, integrations go from a risky project to a true business enabler. You reduce headaches, cut down on errors, and make life a lot easier for everyone involved.
So, bottom line, plan carefully, involve the right people, test thoroughly, and keep workflows simple. That's how you turn integrations into something that actually works instead of a spaghetti mess that you're trying to untangle every morning. So, let's wrap things up with the strategy side with best practices. Tony, we've learned some key things through experience on how to get it right from the start.
Yeah. So first and foremost, map out your processes. Know where your data comes from, where it goes, and where the bottlenecks are. Don't just assume it's obvious. What looks simple on paper may be a nightmare in reality.
Yes, start with the workflow, not the tech. Too many people dive into software before they even know what problem they're solving. It's like, buying a fancy kitchen appliance before deciding what you're going to use it for. And, don't get me wrong, I love a good air fryer, but we all have that
Right?
one appliance that we thought was going to change our life. And now it just, sits there collecting dust.
Exactly. I know I have a rice cooker that hasn't been used in a long time. So, second, how about you choose your integration method based on your business needs? Not what looks slick in a demo. That's a flashy new API connection, might be cool in a video, but if your team doesn't need real-time updates, it doesn't fit your customer system, it's just extra complexity.
Totally. And, don't forget to empower your operational champions, those WMS super users who live and breathe the day-to-day reality on the floor. They are worth their weight in gold. They are the bridge between IT, the system, and what actually happens in real life.
Absolutely. Exactly. I couldn't agree more. You know, give them a seat at the table. They'll catch all the problems before they become big, expensive surprises and can help design workflows that actually work for people.
That's right. And, finally, monitor and evolve. Your integrations shouldn't be set it and forget it projects. As your business changes with new customers, new marketplaces, new workflows, your integrations should be keeping pace. Think of it like tending a garden. You water, prune, and just as needed.
Exactly. If you follow those four steps, process mapping, smart selection, empowered users, and ongoing monitoring, your integration, you can turn integration from a one-time, tech project into a long-term advantage. And the bonus, you'll have happier teams, fewer headaches, and a system that actually supports your business instead of creating extra work. That's the kind of integration that makes most people smile when they walk in the warehouse instead of just groaning about the next day.
And isn't that the dream? Systems that just work. No
Work.
fires to put out, no mystery orders, just smooth and reliable operations.
Right.
All right, Tony, let's dig in a little deeper into some of the questions that we get all the time about integration. So first up, how long does a full integration typically take?
Yeah, that's a good question because everyone asks that first. So the honest answer is it depends. It's all about the scope, what systems you're connecting to, how clean your data is, and how much process mapping you have to do up front. The projects that take the time to really map out the workflows before coding, almost always finish faster and smoother. For a typical 3PL setup, you might be looking anywhere from a few weeks to a few months, depending on the complexity and testing.
That's such a good point too, that the cleanness of your data. I think it's something people are becoming a lot more aware about, but it's so important when we're talking about integrations.
It is.
Yeah. All right. Next question here. How do we know when it's time to invest in better integrations?
Well, when your team spends more time fixing data than using it, that's sort of a red flag. If your people are constantly reconciling spreadsheets, tracking down missing orders, or answering, the "where's my shipment" calls, your system's holding you back. Another big clue is, growth. When new customers or marketplaces create chaos instead of efficiency, that's when integration shifts from nice to have to need to have.
And that's the perfect lead in for the next question that we get a lot is what about ROI? Can I really see a return from real-time syncing and these types of integrations?
Oh, absolutely. So real-time syncing pays off in time, accuracy, and customer satisfaction. A lot of tangibles and intangibles that help with this whole situation. So we've seen clients save hundreds of hours in labor per month by cutting out manual data entry and reconciliation, and even the small improvements like avoiding a handful of missed shipments or preventing overselling have direct financial impact. Plus, it's a boost to customer confidence, which is priceless.
A great point. All right, so let's talk tech for a second. We covered today the main differences between EDI and API. And, for those that are listening that know that they need integration, how should they go about deciding between API, EDI, or a hybrid of both?
Okay. Well, it comes down to your business rhythm. If your customer or partners only need updates once or twice a day, EDI works perfectly. It's reliable, it's steady, simple to maintain, it's good. But if you're in a fast turn environment like e-commerce fulfillment, where, every minute counts, APIs are going to be your best friend. Just saying. So, most modern operations end up using both. And the key is choosing intentionally, not just chasing down what's trendy or new.
That's a great point. That's good advice. So one more question here. What is the biggest mistake that you see companies make during integrations?
Has to be leaving the operation team out of the process every time. Every time. IT might own the tech, but ops lives with it every day. So if the warehouse or the floor isn't involved, you'll end up, with something that works beautifully in theory, but falls apart when, you implement. The best integrations start on the floor. That's where you'll find the real world scenarios to test with. Plan, test end to end, and make sure every stakeholder has voice. That's how you make it stick.
That's great because even with all of this technology and these tools, it always comes down to people, right?
Exactly.
All right, so we'll wrap up here. Integration isn't just about connecting systems. It's about building a smarter and more agile warehouse ecosystem.
Exactly. So when your WMS, ERP, TMS, or other systems all work together, you get speed, accuracy, and confidence. You're not just solving today's problems, you're setting yourself up for growth.
Right. So if your systems aren't currently talking, or maybe they're only talking sometimes, it might be time for you to take a fresh look.
We'd love to help, whether you're exploring an API connection, rethinking your data flow, or just assessing where the gaps are. We can show you what's possible with CodeWorks Enterprise.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that this gave you some practical ideas and maybe a few light bulb moments about how your systems could work better together.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. And remember, your warehouse might be the heart of your operation, but it takes the whole ecosystem to keep it running strong.
Perfectly said. See you next time on Code Chat.